I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077 for the past few days, and it got me thinking, are video games too ambitious? They've been on an upwards trend in basically every single way over the past 10 years. More players, bigger budgets, larger teams, all of these factors lead to one thing: more ambition from developers, and with that comes bigger expectations from players. Every single big game creates an immovable hype train that realistically no dev in the world could live up to. Even Red Dead Redemption 2, which is an amazing game that wasn't too buggy at launch, had its problems. It had an expansive world, but in some instances, I felt that it forgot to be a game and it began to drag. I think Rockstar are an exception to this whole video. Let's take two games that had so much hype leading up to the launch, and no matter how good these games were, they were doomed to disappoint from the start. The games are Cyberpunk 2077 and Fallout 4. People were creaming their trousers just thinking of the endless possibilities in these games, but instead Fallout 4 gave us a feck ton of bugs, bad dialogue and constant repeated side quest bullshit. Cue the release of Cyberpunk 2077. I mean, the hype for this game was bigger than my fellow Irishman Sean Murray's No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky was doomed to fail from the start, and while Cyberpunk is an amazing game, CD Projekt Red, a company with a market cap that rivals Ubisoft, couldn't deliver on all fronts in 8 years. 8 fecking years! When Cyberpunk was announced, Minecraft was taking the world by storm, and Fortnite was an unreleased wave defense game, which I played before it was cool, just so you know. At some stage we have to think, what is the common factor with all these open world ambitious games? Is it the size of the worlds, the complexity of the AI? They all deliver on some fronts but crash and burn on others. Skyrim had a great world to explore but terrible quests and broken RPG mechanics. And let's not forget the PS3 save bug. The Witcher 3 had great writing and story but awful combat. Fallout 4 once again had a great world but kind of failed everywhere else. New Vegas had amazing side quests and world but was so broken it was insane. And now we have Cyberpunk, one of the best worlds in a game to date, but is plagued with glitches and terrible performance on old gen, and of course, a kinda crappy progression system. I think these devs are too focused on creating this world filled to the brim with content, but in the pursuit of this they begin to let things slip through the cracks. There are 3 reasons why I think this happens, and I'd love to know what you guys think are the issues. Firstly, we'll talk about poor management. CD Projekt Red had 8 years with Cyberpunk. After multiple delays, the game is still unpolished, and the same thing happened with The Witcher 3, Fallout 4, insert big open world RPG here. So are the producers, directors, all these high up staff really that incompetent? I would like to think that if you're in that position at such a big company, then you have something about you and you can lead a team. Surely a producer at CD Projekt Red is the top of their field, and if the management really were that incompetent, then they'd be sacked. But this is something we'll never really know without interviews from the staff. I mean, at some stage when you have so many employees, so many sub-teams, everything, it is probably hard to keep on top of everything, but that's why I think games are becoming too ambitious. The second possibility is how monumental a task it is to QA a game like these. With worlds as large as these, how in God's name can you test every single little detail? You'd probably need a team of QAers the size of the dev team to do it, and I can understand from a cost effectiveness standpoint that it's just not feasible. There are crazy specific bugs that can break a game this big. Just look at the old cowboy hat glitch in Fallout New Vegas, which made it impossible to enter the strip, which was the game's main hub. Good luck to any QAer trying to figure out this glitch. I think it's extremely unfair to expect no bugs in a game, especially ones of this size. And before anyone says, no, I'm not an apologist, bugs do just happen. My second last point to this whole video. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Did the publisher overpromise or did the consumer overhype? I think both sides are to blame here. There are games that we've been blatantly lied to about. Fallout 76, No Man's Sky. Oh my god, that's an awful cough. But after being burned so many times, we as consumers have to temper our expectations. As the old saying goes, show me fake gameplay footage once and I'll believe you, shame on you. Show me fake gameplay footage twice and I'll believe you, shame on me. Some people think these games are going to be the best things since sliced bread, a product of marketing and their own hype, and when it doesn't deliver, they are understandably disappointed. Now this argument only holds for the in-the-know gamer. If you're a person who buys COD, FIFA, and then maybe one AAA single player release a year, then you're probably not clued in on how Cyberpunk runs on PS4, so you go out and buy it without this information. This all leads me into the whole point of this video. Video games are too ambitious. The pursuit of these massive, believable worlds ends up fecking the game in the long run. Imagine if Cyberpunk was a fraction of the size. Then the extra dev time could have been used elsewhere, like making the enemy AI better or fixing graphical bugs or putting more effort into the side content that just kind of feel like filler. Night City is an absolutely fantastic world, there's no doubt about that. But I think it could be just as good, if not better, if it was smaller and more refined. Same goes with the likes of Skyrim and Fallout. Instead of making cookie cutter dungeons and caves, they could be handcrafted, giving the player a more memorable experience rather than a longer one. I remember watching the Bethesda documentary and they were showing how they made the dungeons, and there's not as much love gone into them. Like, there are so many dungeons in Skyrim, and say for argument's sake there's 250 dungeons. Why don't they just make 150 or 100 of them, but have more love put into each one? It would just make the game a lot better. Cyberpunk is already significantly smaller than The Witcher 3, but there's a long way to go to get the refined experience that a smaller game could offer. Now, I am in the camp of I would happily pay 60 or 70 euro for a game that only lasts 10 hours. I know there are people that they'd go out and they'd buy a 70 euro game and they'd expect to get 50 or 60 hours. And them games are there. You can have Assassin's Creed and them sort of games for people like that. But for me, I like to experience so many different games that I think if everything was just that slightly bit more refined, we'd all just be better off. I mean, for the people who want to go out and spend 70 euro on a game that gives them 70 hours playtime because they buy a few games every year and they just want to have something to keep them ticking over, then them games are there. For someone like me, if I spend 70 euro and get 10 great hours out of a game, I'm happy. But there are games like Assassin's Creed that are just so bloated. If they just trimmed back some of the fat, they would be amazing games that everyone could enjoy. I would love to know what you think about this video, so keep the conversation going in the comments. I just hit 600 subscribers. I seriously appreciate everyone that has watched, liked, commented, subscribed, anything to do with my channel, even if you disliked. You can dislike my videos if you want, I don't really care. Thank you so much. My goal for 2020 was to get 1,000 subscribers. And while I'm probably not going to get that unless something major happens, 600 is still not a number to sneeze at, and I really appreciate it, so don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you all on the next video.